Even out here in the real soft ground, this horse is tender, protecting himself from that field. Mainly I believe it's the right front, you know, and it's not terribly bad, but it's enough discomfort that can give him trouble in relaxing. I think he'll be fine once we get that bone alignment fixed, you know, because he's definitely, and you know, the pasturing is a long pasturing straight up and down. P2 is subluxated, and then the coffin bone is sitting in there like a ski jump. It's probably closer to the ground at the back than it is in the front. So what that does is it creates a broken back axis that every time he loads up on that foot, it just jams that stress to the back part of his foot right there on that deep digital flexor tendon. I suspect that's what it is. Well, the X-rays will bear that out, and then we'll be able to, you know, with trimming maybe might have to do some alterations to a shoe or something to make it work. But I believe we can get him lined up, and I bet you he'll be comfortable then. But even at a walk, you know, he's going around. You see him, you know, he's not. He walks about like I do. he's not dead lame, but it's enough discomfort that he don't want to go run a race. And all I've been doing is, you hear him sitting there as I'm sitting there just grunting. You know, that's stress, anxiety. So he's expressing that, but he's handling it pretty well. I mean, his body's pretty relaxed, but he's just sitting there just grunting. So I'm gonna just, you know, walk around here and show you some of the things that I do to help a horse like this relax. One of them is just this. This is the first time I've had him out here in this pen. He's not. This is unfamiliar territory for him here. So just come in here and set, you know, and let him know that it's not a place he's going to have to, you know, go through a bunch of stuff every time he comes into it. So anyway, I'll just ride him around. You can see that. But we wanted to get on film before we do the shoeing, and then after we do the shoeing, so that we can see if we're making a difference. The process that we've been involved with this particular horse, this horse is 10 years old, and he failed his first job as an endurance horse due to lameness, and then he went on to be in training to be a pleasure horse, and you know, and I think some things were maybe done in that process that you know, caused a little bit of anxiety to come over in him. They tried to get him carrying his head too low, and a horse built like this especially needs to have his head up and looking out through the bridle, because if they get looking too close to the ground here in front of them, they have trouble doing that. They're you know, the horse is kind of a high energy horse, and him looking out is where he's the most comfortable. So I have noticed in him a considerable amount of lameness. I believe the horse is off almost equally in both front feet, so that makes it a little difficult to see that lameness. When he's in a high alert state of mind, you don't notice the lameness, but when he relaxes and is moving, and I'm going to ride him here in a minute and show you that's what happens. So what we did was we had The veterinarian come in, take some x-rays. He found some arthritic conditions in the shoulder and in the coffin joint, and he injected those sites. It's been 10 days since those injections have taken place. And I purposely did this like this to make a distinction between, was it the injections that helped the horse go sound, or was it the shoeing that made the difference? And I think there's enough mechanical misalignment in this horse's feet that I don't know, because I haven't shod him, but I'm expecting good results after we get him shod. So let me move him here just a little bit so you can see. And when you're watching this video, watch my body. You see, and the lameness will show up. See that? See my body going up and down, and it's like it's just falling out from under me. That's him loading up on the foot that is less lame and getting in a hurry to get off the other one. So it's causing he's not head bobbing lame, but he's off enough that would cause this horse to be less than comfortable enough to perform at a level that you know, even just trail riding, we want him to be more comfortable so he can go out and do whatever he needs to do. And I believe it's going to help him to relax mentally as well. So anyway, that's the stage. We're gonna go in and look at some x-rays now. I want to show you what the misalignment that I'm talking about, and then I'm going to show you the shoe that I'm going to apply to his feet. And then on Thursday we will post the video after the shoeing. I'll film putting one shoe on so you can see that. The shoeing process is not the point here. It is a process that I believe that we're covering all the bases through veterinary examination. The veterinarian did you know, prescribe getting the horse shod as well. He didn't have any specific requests on the shoeing. He sent me the x-rays to look at so that I could apply what I'm seeing in the x-rays, and I'll show you the x-rays, and then we'll go from there. Dennis here, Cappel Training and Shoeing. We're in the shoeing shop here now, and we're getting ready to shoe this horse we've been you know, looking at. We've saw the horse move before he was injected. We saw him move after the injections. So now we're going to apply some shoes to what we're looking at. I think these x-rays are interesting to look at. This is his right foot, this is his left foot. The horse is actually more off on the right foot than he is the left foot. Radiographically, that doesn't make as much sense as you might think it should, because we've got a straight alignment through the pastern of this horse on the right foot, but in the left foot we've got a broken back axis. You know, the long pastern straight up and down, the short pastern is subluxated. This is the navicular bone right here. And then here's the coffin bone. And the coffin bone, so you see, this is why we call this a broken back axis. When a foot like this loads up mechanically, all of his weight, all the weight of the horse is going to the back of the foot. We ideally want it to come right down through center, right here, okay? When we look at the hoof wall itself, you can see that it comes down pretty straight to about here. It starts to migrate forward, but then it really dives forward. So from the tip of the coffin bone to where this horse is breaking over is probably, it's almost an inch in front of the coffin bone, which is quite a bit of leverage. And in this left foot, we've got a similar situation. You can see it's not as distorted as the right front is, though. And you know, it's just interesting to take observation notes. But I think one of the things that's probably adding to the horse's discomfort is the sole depth. there's very little sole depth on this right foot. So you can see this dark area right here underneath the coffin bone, and it's compressed right out here, right on the tip of the coffin bone. So as this horse loads up on his foot, there's pressure from the ground, and there's a compromise in circulation because he just doesn't have any sole depth. So it's like, you know, if somebody was to put you in a bind and cut your circulation off, it's gonna be less than comfortable. By the way, this is basically a horse's finger. If you look at your own finger, this would be the long pastern, this would be the short pastern, and that first knuckle would be your coffin bone. We don't have a navicular bone in our finger, but we do have a hoof wall on it. See, so that's what we're looking at there is this part from here down. This would be our pastern joint up here, and this is the pastern angle. So these are the main three bones that farriers are concerned with. So what might be the remedy here? Your first tendency is to think maybe wedging this foot up might help. I don't think that's going to be extremely helpful in this case. It might be necessary, but we're going to try it with the minimal amount of you know, a mechanical change that we can to start with, and see where we can go. I do think that if we move the breakover back, that's going to help. That's going to really help this horse to get over his leg. Now, that's going to help in the shoulder issue that was injected. That's going to help in the coffin joint issue that was injected by making it easier for this horse to pass over his foot. So we're not going to hold that foot on the ground so long that it gets way back behind him. When that foot has got leverage out in front of it, it goes further behind the body as the horse's weight is passing over, which puts a tremendous amount of strain on the deep digital flexor tendon that comes down around the back of the foot over the navicular bone and attaches to the coffin bone. And you know, the tendons connect bone to muscle. So that's what creates movement in the horse, is the muscle contracting, pulling on the tendon, which moves the bone. The bones are connected bone to bone with ligaments. Now, if we put this in a bind back here, that deep digital flexor tendon, we're also probably going to stress the ligaments that are holding the coffin bone, the navicular bone, and P2 right here together, and sometimes the ligaments can be causing issues as well. Generally, most generally, minor lamenesses are soft tissue issues in the leg itself. So that's what we're looking at. Again, on this left foot, we've got some distortion. We've got excess leverage. We also have a limited amount of sole depth. So this horse needs some protection, I believe, on the bottom of his foot, and I believe he needs some mechanical relief so that as he moves, he's not stressing his joints as much. And that's where this shoe comes into play. Looks kind of like a hubcap, doesn't it? This is called a freedom shoe. This is a shoe that Gene Overnick, you know, came up with, and this shoe has got these little metal pegs down through in the front and down through the center like this. So this shoe is loaded up in the center, but we've got sole relief on the bottom side, so we don't have excess pressure going into the sole. That's going to be helpful. But I think what's going to be most helpful from this shoe is the fact that that shoe can roll this way, that shoe can roll this way, it can roll this way. It's basically like a horse standing on a small snowball. And therefore, we don't have the restricting edges of a shoe that are way out there holding that foot flat. if this horse needs to get comfortable somehow by rotating his leg however it needs to, this shoe will allow that to happen. So that's why I'm gonna apply the Freedom shoe to this foot. Now, before we put the shoe on, I need you to know that it's not just the shoe, it's where this shoe is going to be placed. So we've got to prepare this foot first with a trim, and then we've got to be mindful using the natural guides that are on the bottom of the foot to tell us where to place this shoe. Because if I get this shoe placed too far forward, I haven't addressed my leverage issue. If I get it too far back, I leave the front of the coffin bone vulnerable. So I want to have it placed basically right underneath here, to where there's actually going to be some foot sticking out over this shoe that we'll address from the bottom, and we'll address this excess as well. But you see, by the way this shoe is shaped, you can see under there, see that gap between that tool and there? The breakover is actually at the first one of these dots. So that's what makes this shoe very forgiving as the horse travels forward. But that and protecting the sole, I think those two things are going to make a lot of difference. I don't know. We might put these on, they might be worse. This is a part of subjection, that it's ultimately the horse is going to tell us, is this comfortable or is it not? We can apply all kind of man-made ideas, man-made thought, and we might be just as wrong as possible when it comes to this horse. Oh, we don't know until we try. So this is the approach that I'm gonna use today, and then we'll film it after the fact. You've seen him without shoes, you've seen him before injections, you saw him after injections. I feel personally like the injections had little to no effect on the lameness that we're seeing. So I'm hoping that the application of this shoe will give this horse some comfort so that he can go on and do his job better. So. So the video that you're getting ready to watch